to create a space to help you make your way through the world.
I think when you gotta stop living up here, start living down here.
The way to do that is
safe space
for
depravity.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary folk. This is a Safe Space for Depravity podcast. I am none other, one of the two hosts of this show, Wellington Boyce.
The longer we do this, I feel like the worse we're getting at it. But my name's Quinn Lemieux.
Gotta add some pizzazz to the intro. Yeah, how's it going, man?
Good. It's been an interesting week since we last talked. A lot of major shit going on. But I want to start.
Yeah.
The first thing I want to start with is this fucking Apple event that happened on Tuesday, because I think that'll be the most lighthearted of these topics today. So, couple things. Number one is shout out Apple for going back to just putting colors on their computers for no reason.
Wait, what?
Yeah, dude.
Like,
you remember the old school Macs that had
the ones that look like fucking someone describes it as like Beetles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like BMW Beetles.
Yeah. So they started doing that again, which is pretty wild. And I think it's kind of stupid, but also it's kind of like, I don't know, I can respect it. It's definitely a way to go.
Yeah, it's nostalgic.
Mm-hmm. So there's that. The other cool thing that they came out with is, I don't know if you use Tiles, the little location tracking things that you can put on your phones or wallet or whatever.
No.
All right. So there are these little Bluetooth things that you can like put on a keychain, or you can put in your wallet, or you can put, or like a sticker that you can put on things. And Apple came out with their own one of those, and I was like, oh, okay, like classic Apple, joining the game late or whatever. And then also in classic Apple fashion, being late to the game and then just absolutely fucking up the competition, because Tiles work if you're around, like, so if I lose my shit, it's only like Bluetooth range. Basically, it can tell me like, hey, here's the last time you were near whatever thing it was. And then it'll give me like an address, which is nice. I don't mind that. Mm. What Apple did was they made this small little disc, and they're like, okay, so it does the same thing, but here's the kicker. If anybody else with an iPhone ever gets near the thing that you're by, we'll update the location. So, like, basically, if I left my backpack on, the New York City subway, for example, and it just goes to the next stop or whatever, if it was a Tile, it would just basically be like, yo, the last place it was the stop that you got off at, and nobody's seen it since, or like no other. There's no other way that we can track
within a radius like of a human being with another Tile or just an iPhone. It would pick up.
Yeah, so like a Tile would be like, yo, you haven't been near this since you got off at your stop. Subscribe to Tile Pro if you want us to hook you up with other people who have Tiles that maybe can come grab that signal for you, or whatever the case may be. Apple was like, nah, fuck that. Anybody that has an iPhone that's in the vicinity of that thing, it will update the location of that thing. And you can live track it.
That is insane.
And if somebody picks it up and puts it to their iPhone, it pops up with your name and a number that they can call to be like, yo, I got your shit. So I just got to give a huge shout out to Apple for solving that problem, because with the amount of iPhones in the world, bro, there's going to be a lot of shit that is going to be found because of that.
You might as well retire lost and found at this point.
Bro, I'm not kidding. I saw that shit and I was like, whoa, that's the solve. That's just how you solve that problem from now on.
Yeah, it's either found or you got your shit stolen.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, but the thing is, I know where you live now.
Yeah, I mean, either they toss it out or whatever the case may be. But here's the other cool thing. If let's just say it sits on the subway and it goes like, if I'm in Midtown and it goes all the way to Harlem, anybody that's sitting next to it, even if like it's updating the location of it, if somebody is sitting next to your specific AirTag for long enough, they'll be like, yo, there's an AirTag near you. You might want to like check it out. And so they'll basically, it basically tells somebody like, yo, some shit's lost near you. Like, you might want to go grab it real quick. But here's the kicker. You would think if you're sitting in the car with your friends, it would do the same thing because it's like, yo, there's an AirTag sitting in the car. Nope, because you're in the car. So it knows that it's not lost. So it won't ping your friends if you're just riding up in the car and somebody else's phone is connected to it for a long time, because it can also sense that your phone's there. So
it sounds great, but in a realistic world that we live in, like where you said in New York, it's like, oh, hey, someone lost this. I would say a good 85% of people are like, oh, well, so?
here's
it pops up on the phone. Okay.
But I think you said it best. Nothing will be lost anymore. It's either found
that
or
is
it's
true.
stolen. There's no more in between. People know now where the shit is. It's either you're getting it back or somebody didn't want you to get it back. Which I can live with.
Yeah, I feel like it would give you like some closure where it's just like, you know, when you're missing something, like, where the fuck did it go?
Dude.
Like, I can't, like, there's no way that I've lost this thing. And it's like, did someone steal it? No, it couldn't. And then you just kind of like go about your life, but you kind of ponder. You're like, did I lose it or was it stolen? And that, it cuts out the middleman.
If I had one superpower, and I've thought about this since I was as young as
to find shit.
No. Listen, or I wouldn't call this a superpower, but if I could have one thing added to my life that would be like paranormal or like an extra power, the one thing that I would want is in those situations where you lost something and it's just driving you crazy. Like, there are times that I'm okay with just being like, okay, it's gone forever. But there are times when I know it's in the house or like it's somewhere where it's accessible and I just don't know where it is. There are times when all I want is just a little button to click on, like in my mind, where you can view exactly where it's at, but then you forfeit the right to ever get it. So like, if I look to see where it is, automatically that means it just gets sucked into a black hole and I can never have it again, but I'll know. I'll know where that thing was and be like, oh, okay. I'll keep that in reference. Just a little like picture, like one of those like kidnapper Polaroids. Just like right of where
it's just like everything is just like kind of zoned in on the item. It's just like, okay, it's somewhere there.
Okay. It would have been there, but now I've lost the right to ever get it. Got it. Okay. Keep that in mind for future. That would
like
be
an NFT.
Yeah. That would be one thing that I would love to have added to my life. I'm okay with losing the thing. I just want to know where I lost it. And you can have it, but just let me know how I lost it.
Yeah. Like, was I being irresponsible? Like, how do I explain this later on? Like, well, I just lost it. How do you just lose it? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I sucked dick on accident. How you suck dick on accident?
Exactly. And then the third thing, which is the most relevant to this podcast, is that Apple is coming out with paid subscription tiers for podcasts. And I think it's a great idea. But at the end of the day, here's why it's never, or I shouldn't say it's never going to happen, but here's why people aren't going to attach themselves to it, is because Spotify threw $100 million at Rogan to make his podcast free on their platform, which is cool. But the problem is that what's going to end up happening is that now people are going to have to sign exclusivity deals with Apple or Spotify and do their podcast only on that platform, because there's no way that if, let's take us for example, if we were to charge 49 cents a month for like bonus content on Apple, that means we can never put it on Spotify. That means that you know what I mean? Like, we could only do bonus content on Apple, and then I don't know how people are into whatever music thing that they have. Like, it's very hard to move people out of that. So anybody that's on a big scale is going to basically have to like look at it and just be like, okay, do we grab a smaller bag from Apple and just start charging essentially half of our audience if they want to get bonus content and then just never give it to the other people? Or do we just say, fuck it, go to Apple, try and get a deal done where we are exclusive over at Apple Podcasts, and then do the same thing. So, like, it just depends how much money they're trying to get, because I feel like it's a small bite out of a bigger apple, rather than just saying, like, the podcast is available for everybody, and we're going to keep growing our audience, and then go on to Patreon, like a whole different website, if you, like, for the dedicated fans.
Yeah, and that's what makes more sense, and that's why, like, when you told me about this, I was like, oh, that's a fat rip to Patreon. But the point that you just made, that I see where it'll be hard to get people to hone in on just Apple, because people have Androids and use Spotify.
No, it would be hard for your audience, not a person.
Yes,
because the person, the
that's what I
person's
meant.
either, the person's either
for
there or they aren't.
Yeah, for people about the audience, it's just like, well, I don't have an Apple product, so therefore I can't subscribe to one of my favorite podcasts. And get the bonus content, even though I want it.
Yeah.
And so, like, if a creator just chooses to do that, then they're fucking up their own bag, because, you know, like the Patreon is where you're going to get exclusivity, like, to everybody.
Well, and that's,
I hate saying it like that, but, like, it's just going to give it to Apple users, Mac user, or Android users, and just like people that just use a computer or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
That's the weird thing to me about it, is that I feel like this particular deal to give like paid subscriptions on Apple itself is interesting, but the problem is that, like, anybody that's going to pay for content is willing to go an extra step to go get the content. Like, that's not what's holding people back. So I feel like this is like a move where it's like, oh yeah, like, we're fans enough to pay for it, but we're too lazy to go to the website. Like, I don't know how many people like that exists. So for me, it's just like, why would you cut your audience in half to go do something like that, reduce the size of your bag, rather than just being like, yo, if you want to come in at $3 a month on Patreon, like, I'll give you a whole new, you know, audio feed, or I'll give you a whole new other thing that, like, you can,
like a live stream or something.
Yeah. So that. I think there's going to be, I think it's a good idea, but I think what it actually sets up, and it doesn't really affect small creators that much, but I think what it's going to ultimately set up is like things like, Making a Murderer, or like any of the serial murderer podcasts. Like, I could see a situation in which they're just like, okay, we can gear our exclusive content towards Apple, still make the regular one free, but maybe do like behind the scenes stuff there for $2 a month if we can churn out that much content. So I think it's a smaller bag, and it could be nice, but I feel like at the end of the day, all it's going to be geared to is signing these big podcasts to exclusivity deals to try and stop Spotify from doing what they're doing, because Spotify is taking the SoundCloud route and just trying to be like, yo, we're trying to gobble up as much content as possible. We want your podcast over here. Like, if you used to do the all-in-one platform Anchor, well, we just bought that. So now your podcast is here with Spotify, and we want, you know, as many hours as we can log over here. Whereas Apple may go the route of like, okay, let's grab, you know, 5 of the top 10 biggest podcasts and make them Apple exclusives, put them on deals, and then throw that paid subscription in there, because they make 30% off it first year. Which is a lot. I mean, it's bigger than the chunk that Patreon takes, which I think at this point right now for like mid-tier subscriptions is Patreon takes 8%.
Oh wow!
It's Patreon right now is probably, depending on how you want to get involved with it, is probably the most creator-friendly monetization platform that we have. But again, it's just a smaller.
Aside from OnlyFans,
I don't know what those cuts are like. I can't speak to that. I don't know what OnlyFans cuts are like.
Well, like I love telling people how originally OnlyFans was made for, like, it was just pretty much a Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't exclusively like adult content and XXX and all that stuff. It, like, you could put it on there. It was just one of the only paywalls where you can receive stuff like that. And then it developed into like, oh, people get naked on here. Oh, I'm going to try and make money off it. And so that's when I started seeing like porn stars use it and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, OnlyFans is picking up a porn audience, because I think Patreon they have like limitations where you can't post nudity, but OnlyFans is allowing it.
No, I think it's hardcore is where they draw their line.
Okay. Yeah, and so OnlyFans was kind of just like, oh yeah, whatever, you can post whatever you want for your fans, and then it just developed into what it is today, where if you just want to show a foot picture, you can make a quick buck.
I think my understanding was the guy who created OnlyFans originally started a chat, like a campsite, and he went from there and then tried to start something new, and he was like, well, it could be a possibility that we could turn to, more hardcore stuff, but we're going to try and monetize the porn. You know what I mean? Like, he was just like, I'm not going to try. I know what this can be. Like,
Yeah.
we can just turn this into porn and just move on from there. And to be honest,
I remember plenty, like a lot of like friends that like I know who use like ManyVids, which is like the cam website and all that.
the Amazon of that content.
Yes, pretty much. And so ManyVids is like, they were taking up crazy cuts out of people's whatever, and they have the payouts and all that. And there's some girls and OnlyFans or whatever cam creators were just like, I have to hit this like line in order to get my money every month.
Yeah.
And it became like just a task where they have to like fucking pump out like, hey guys, just know pretty much how we are with our podcast. Like, hey, we have something out here. Like, please go look at it.
Yeah. Except as it stands right now,
we're not getting paid for this.
Well, we don't get paid for this, but also we don't lose money on this either.
This is true.
Like at this point, past buying equipment, it's like it doesn't. It costs me a certain amount of money to host the podcast, but like outside of that, I mean, it's I don't have to pay.
Like the damage has been done with all the equipment that we have right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where that is. But yeah, and so that's where OnlyFans opened the avenue for them to put out those content videos and all that stuff, but while also I think they maybe take away 10%, but on top of that they tax.
I mean, that's great. Yeah, I mean, that's great for them.
And so as someone who's like popular on OnlyFans, like shout out to Miss B Nasty, like she, like you can make that your career, and people are like, oh well, these OnlyFans girls don't pay tax. Yes, they do.
Yeah,
they're required to with OnlyFans. So like if they've made it that acceptable to, or not acceptable, like accessible to. Yeah. Put this as your tax, and certain things can be tax write-offs, like your dildos and your butt plugs and stuff like that, and you can make fucking six figures. Well, and it's not like anything has to be really deducted aside from like you owing the IRS and shit like that.
Well, and that's the funny part about like internet stars that were coming up like a little while ago was like early 2010s or like mid 2010s was that like nobody was paying taxes. Yeah, right. So like
you're talking to someone who's been in the circle.
Yeah.
Sir.
So it's kind of nice on their end that's kind of been like put into the workflow, because you get into a situation where you start
making some money and you don't realize that you owe people. The people meaning the government. Yeah. Like I remember when I first got my first W-2, and I was like, what's this? Like my first W-2 from all my whatever dealings with the like a YouTube company of what they used to pay out to me just from them. And I was like, wait, this is just from them? And I have other shit.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I had managers like, yeah, this is for right around the same time, like in February. It's like, yeah, this is the number to our accountant. So if y'all need some help with your taxes, I was like, yes, please, because I didn't know that this was a thing. I thought I was making my money, but in this world, you quickly learn nothing's free money.
Yeah, for sure.
And if it is free money, it's illegal.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt there. So I don't know. I just thought I thought that whole event was interesting, and it'll be cool to see how that shapes the platform, because now I feel like and we've talked about how oversaturated the platform is, but at the same time, like it's going to. This is the first kind of like actual start of their little war between Spotify and Apple, because Spotify has already been in talks to monetize the same way that Apple's doing it, but they're going to be, you know, a little later to the game to figure out how they want to do it. But again, you know, in my mind, it's all going to come down to an external website, just because there's no way that you can bring those two podcast apps back together. Because if you're in Spotify, you're locked into Spotify. You don't, like, I would never go to Apple Podcasts. Like, I'm a Spotify guy. I'm not going to Apple Podcasts.
And I'm very much an Apple person. Like,
So
even our own podcast, I will dip into it on Spotify just to like make sure it's out, but I like exclusively listen to our podcast on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. So yeah, I mean, it's you listen to your own music. I think about that every Friday. Like, yeah, this is me. Like, you listen to your own podcast?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Because who else is?
I was riding in the car listening to it and just writing down timestamps so I could go make clips later. I was just like, that's a good point at 3:06.
Yeah, it's pretty much like that's where I'm like, oh, okay, I listen to it after it's posted, so I know what I'm going to go into with editing for highlight clips and all that, because I need to know. But then it'll take the whole hour drive for me to work, like my commute, and then after I get off work, I'll listen to it again.
Wow.
So like by the next episode, I've probably listened to our podcast at least 3 to 5 times.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that sounds excessive, but that's how I am. I was even like that with my Vines, where I would watch the video so many times throughout the day before I just said, okay, I hate it and I need to do better. So that's kind of what I do with the podcast, where it's just like, okay, this is a good first listen. Second listen, I'm like, okay, well, we can work on that. Third listen, damn, this is kind of boring. Fourth listen, or I'm just like just running things in my head where it's just like I'm running myself dry, where I'm like, okay, this is not that good. We can do better next time or next week and whatever. And this is how you're going to change it and all that stuff. So I've always been that kind of person since I started making content, and it sounds sick, but I guess it's just like the nature of like how I like things to be perfected. I'm not going to say I'm a perfectionist. Others will, but I just like to.
I'm not gonna say I'm a perfectionist. Others do that for me. I'm out here.
I just really like to have my craft good, but at the end of the day, I will hate it at the end of the day. So it's like I said, it's sick, but it's like a lose for me. It's just like, oh, I can do better. So I don't know.
Yeah. So that brings us to the fucking Jake Paul Ben Askren fight.
Yeah, in the words of in the sense of talking about creators, Jake Paul and Ben Askren. First of all, I'm not going to say that fight was rigged.
Wait, before we hop into this, one thing I want to say is one of the fight. I can't remember the other dude's name, but it was Frank Mir versus it was like Shane Campbell or something like that.
Yeah. The USSR guy.
No, the black dude.
So Oscar De La Hoya kept saying the USSR.
He's not he's not Soviet, and he's also not that old. So
and Mario Lopez was just like, that's not a thing anymore. And he's just like, oh, USSAR. I'm just like, sir, get Oscar De La Hoya off the fucking airways, because this man needs to shut the fuck up.
Dude, Frank Mir, former heavyweight champion of the UFC, came out there.
An understatement. Because Frank Mir is almost 300 fucking pounds of just mass, bro.
Dude, he came into that ring looking like he was doing a Butterbean cosplay. He was enormous. It made
no sense.
Now, listen, I'm not trying to fat shame or put him down or do whatever, but he looks good. He looked gigantic. And very much like he was like, oh, I have a fight in 6 weeks. I can probably start 3 weeks out. And then he lost anyway. So it's just like, to me,
Yeah.
it's like that. You look
But
across from him.
The thing is, he stood his ground. I thought Frank Mir was going to get knocked the fuck out after like the third round. And it's funny because like Eric and I were watching, and he goes, "This is going for 6 rounds. They think these guys can stand for 6 rounds." Other guy, yeah, absolutely. He looked well conditioned, and he was 3 years older than Frank Mir. But Frank Mir,
That was insanity.
he looked. I'm not saying he looked like shit, but in that realm, he looked like Brock Lesnar, like just fat Jack, and just a force not to be fucked with. But then you get in the realm of boxing, and it's like, oh, I had to condition for this,
Dude.
He just looked gassed after the first round.
Dude, it was painful to watch. And then the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight comes on, and you look at Jake Paul. Jake Paul looks good. He's been training. You know, I can see that there's been some work put in. Ben Askren, if you would have just turned and looked at him, and he had swim shorts and flip flops on, I would have been like, oh, so somebody's uncle's here grilling.
This man's on vacation,
Dude. I was just like. I mean, I don't know, because regardless of whether it was rigged or whether
once
he
the
threw,
weigh-in came in,
yeah,
once the weigh-in came in, and you saw Ben Askren's body, and he, this is not what I said, but someone said he's built like E.T. Like,
yeah,
you knew this fight was over.
yeah, and again, not to denigrate him, but he's also not like a normal person. Like, he's a professional athlete. So that stuff really matters for him.
Also, he's also an Olympic athlete.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what I expected, but I just assumed he would give a shit. But you could tell from his whole mentality leading up to that fight, he's a very chill dude, doesn't really give a shit. You know, I'm sure at some point he had a lot of fire burning for the career, but I don't know if it was rigged or if it wasn't or whatever the case was, but one thing is very clear, and he did not give a single fuck about being in that ring. He did not give one shit about that.
And it showed, and that's why I won't say the fight was rigged, because Jake took it completely serious.
Yeah.
And Ben got knocked out, but I feel like he just took that hit and just said, "All right, I got my bag."
Yeah,
because walking out of that ring, he was smiling, joking on camera, like with the walk off, and I'm like, this nigga just got knocked out for over like what 1 point? I forgot the views. It was like 1.4 million pay-per-view buys or some shit, and that's not even including the niggas that got it for free, such as myself. You can arrest me or whatever, but like I wasn't going to pay for that fight. But so many people watched that or that show or whatever, that boxing match, and he's just walking off just about his day, like not shit happened.
Yeah.
And everybody would be like, "Oh, that's rigged," but I think he just didn't care enough to sit and fight to win his bag.
Yeah, the ref stoppage was a little weird too. And granted, you know, before we get into this, I don't know that much about reffing for boxing, but I'll say he stood up. He looked a little wobbly, but you get the glove shake to make sure that, you know, you're still like mentally there. And again, I'm not an expert, but my thing is, if I'm the ref, he's a little wobbly, but he's still there, I just let him go again. If he gets knocked down again in the next 10 seconds, then just call it off. But in my mind, like, especially in a boxing ring, like, people get really hurt in boxing when they get punched in the head a lot. Like, the reason the UFC is safer is because, like,
it's close range.
Well, it's one of those things, like, you're not going for 15 rounds of getting punched in the head. You're going for five rounds or three rounds.
To 5, yeah.
And so, you know, it's just less trauma on the head. You know, you can get choked out, which, depending on how you're choking somebody out, is relatively safe. But, like, Ben Askren is not going to get exponentially more fucked up than he was at that point if that fight ends in the same round. So, in my mind, I'm just thinking, like, you just let him stand up, and if he gets knocked down again, then you can waive it, because then, okay, clear. He's not
from the first knockdown. Yeah, he wasn't out cold, and he got up, and everything was fine. But they said they should have called the Nate Robinson fight. Like as soon as he got, because that nigga got knocked down like what 3 times before he actually got the knockout. And they should have called that. They said, but so I guess they whatever they took the
Well, that fight shouldn't have happened regardless. Like, I mean, and
it shouldn't have
happened. And that's the whole problem is that like Jake Paul cannot just fight athletes. Like, dude, anybody that has any amount of training and fighting going against anybody who doesn't have training and fighting is going to get their ass beat. Like, full stop. Doesn't matter how athletic you are.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, someone who's like Jake Paul, who's taken this shit by the reins and just has gone head first with how dedicated he is, you need someone who's doing the same shit. And it's just, it's like you can't just pick a random person, which I get. This is why he needed this fight. I completely believe he needed this fight for the win, to be seen as a boxer, because no one's gonna see him as a boxer.
But my point, what's the next fight is my question. Like,
yeah,
you know,
that I have no idea.
Who demands a big enough draw? Who is still not really a fighter that he has a decent chance against? Because you put Conor McGregor in the ring with Jake Paul, and I mean, again, Conor's going to be down probably 40 pounds at least. Maybe it'll be interesting, and Conor
but
wins
even
that.
the
But
height,
it's like,
bro,
yeah.
Conor's like what, 5'2"?
No, he's 5. I think he's like 5'9". So he's losing 4
Bullshit.
inches. He's losing 40 pounds. Like, so, like, I kind of get it, and maybe like Conor starches him or whatever. But I don't know who. Like, you can't put him against anybody that would be in his weight class in the UFC because he's gonna get absolutely starched. I don't know who he fights that's interesting enough to care about, that would actually be somebody that we think could fight. The only reason that I mean, I still don't know why the only reason Logan Paul's getting in the ring with Floyd Mayweather is because Mayweather isn't going to knock him out. Like, and Floyd Mayweather's like 50. So, like, it's an interesting, like, that's going to be an interesting fight from the perspective of, like, can Logan even touch Floyd Mayweather? But it's not going to be.
That's the big, yeah. It's like catching lightning. So yeah.
But this was the same conversation we had with Conor, and Conor's exponentially better than Logan Paul is, and so he couldn't touch him. So Logan Paul's not going to be able to touch him.
Yeah.
So I like, my point is, like, I guess I just don't know, like, after this Logan Paul Mayweather fight, like, I don't know who's next for anybody, because like, none of it really makes sense to me. Like, unless you pull, like, I don't know, like somebody that's retired, like a former, like, light heavyweight for Jake, like a retired light heavyweight for Jake, or, you know, maybe like an upstart young boxer for Logan, or I don't know. Like, there's really nobody that's interesting enough to me that it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense, you know, to have.
Well, I can tell you right
the next
now
fight.
who would be like a prime candidate for, like, at least fighting Jake. Wellington Boyce. Jake Paul 6 feet. Wellington Boyce 6 feet. Jake Paul ranges from 190 to 210. Wellington Boyce ranges from 190 to 210. My reach is way longer than Jake Paul's. You give me fucking 6 months. Okay, realistically, I mean, I would take this fight so seriously, but you give me an actual year with one match in there or whatever, or one boxing match with someone, like a random setup, and then I would take on Jake Paul. And this is from the heart, and I am being dead ass serious. I would take the Jake Paul fight instantly for $5. If I won, I would take that fight for $5. That's the bag I would walk away with, just because I know and I'm confident in myself to take on this nigga. Like, and sure, I could lose, but like I said, if you give me a realistic time frame of, like, I train for 3 months and get my shit together, and then I actually boxing train for a good 9 months, and in between that 9 months, I get a bout that I'm just like, whatever, not even a main card event or whatever, just like, you just put me on a bout, and I get that shit. I win or lose, and I just know how. Okay, cool. Like this is how this goes in real time. I'm taking it. I'm dead. I'm dead fucking serious about that.
Okay. So in other news, I would love to win the lottery, just to win the lottery. I think it would be one of my best ideas yet. One of the biggest opportunities I'll ever have, and just to get in there and play and scratch those cards off, I really think would be a great opportunity for me.
But no, I dude, I mean, the thing is, Jake Paul has been fighting nothing but scrubs. They said everybody was like, "Oh, fight a real fighter." He fights Ben Askren. He is a real fighter, but Ben Askren is not. He didn't take it serious, and that was the biggest takeaway. It's just like this was a 1 round, very, very knockout. He just got hit. That button got hit. He got knocked down. He was like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm back up. And then the ref called it.
You understand that you're only 2 inches taller than Nate Robinson, right? Like you understand that Nate Robinson is.
You understand that he lied about his height, right?
Bro.
I'm
3
tall.
inches. 3 inches taller than Nate
I am
Robinson.
the same height as Jake Paul.
Infinitely less.
I am the same
talented.
weight class as Jake Paul. I have a longer reach than Jake Paul.
Okay, so those
The
are
only
those
thing
are
that
like,
takes me
those
out
are
of the
like,
conversation is conditioning. That is it.
and training, but yeah, no, definitely,
Oh, no,
and
that guy is.
and athleticism, and any sort of chance here. But
I got the hands. And you know what?
no, you have
Once I
you
learn
have
how to
hands.
use 'em.
Like you have 2 of them. Like that's what you have.
You were blessed to be born with 2.
Yeah.
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah. Not everyone's fathers could be lucky enough to get 2. That's speaking from experience. So, my point is that there ain't no fucking way you're getting in the ring with Jake
Damn.
Paul.
I need a second because I wasn't ready for that one. I now feel ableist.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's boxing dreams were marred at the slim age of 2 minutes.
Oh God, yeah. But back to it. Like, I mean, yeah. It's just. I know people are gonna think I'm joking, but like, I dead fucking like would take it, and it's not because I hate him or anything like that, but
That would at least
just
make
see-
sense for what's going on here. Otherwise, I don't know what we're talking about.
I just see okay, in the sense of like
if you hated him, I could be like, oh, okay, like it makes sense. Like he just wants a chance to legally beat this kid's ass. But like if you're coming at this from the area of like you have some sort of shot at beating him in an athletic competition, this is one of the most insane things I've ever heard.
I just want to fight him. I just want to fight him. Does that make me a bad person?
No.
Maybe
It would.
Okay.
It at least
I
makes
just wanna
sense for
fight him.
why this conversation is happening versus like I want to.
Some men just want to see the world burn, and I would love to see that go down in flames. Just his reign of
I could
3 knockouts to being 3-0.
The funny thing about this is like I'm just imagining like the video up to your guys' fight, and when he called Cody Ko a little back end tech developer, I can only imagine what he would say about you in a video where you guys are getting ready for this.
It would be amazing because you know what? I'm winning every single argument that kid throws at me. His backyard bullying techniques, I would be too clever. It would make me seem like the most clever individual compared to Jake Paul's like, oh yeah, like your mom. Okay, all right, kid, I got you. I got your ticket right here.
I'll put it this way,
gonna
Welly. Your ability to hop over a phone book does not make you athletic. In the same way that being able to retort with Jake Paul does not make you that much clever. That's a very low bar to clear.
Okay, whatever. Anyways, niggas doubt me, but I'd take that fight, and I would put my heart and soul. Because the thing is, he needs somebody that's gonna take the fight seriously, and you know who's gonna take it seriously? Me, because you know what? I have nothing to fucking lose.
that's kind of why it's not interesting. Just to put that out there.
But it makes it more interesting because I have nothing to lose, so I'm crazy. I'm the trash man. I just go in the ring and I throw around trash.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sitting here
I eat
saying
garbage.
I'm not sitting here saying I wouldn't love to see it, but also, at the end of the day, I'm still not paying for that fight.
I wouldn't expect you to. I would expect you to be there. If Triller's throwing an event and it's Jake Paul, I feel like it'd be an easy card. If I just got Jake Paul's acknowledgement, of course you'd be like, "Who's this nobody?" Because of course that's how he's that kind of person where he's gonna act like he doesn't.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who a good fight would
be.
be.
The same rooms.
A good fight would be like you and Rice Gum. Like I would watch the shit out of that.
Nigga, you just fucking tried the shit out of me.
I'd watch the shit out of a you and Rice Gum fight.
You just tried the absolute dog shit out of me.
Wellington Boyce, a pretty irrelevant YouTuber. That shit would be dope. That lead up would be dope. He drops a diss track, and you talk about dropping a diss track for 6 months. That shit would be funny.
Never do it.
Never do it. Just keep teasing the shit out of it,
bro. I my thing is, if they just get me into the YouTube boxing realm,
you could go beat Dirty Dom's ass for like 10 grand. That shit would be dope.
Oh, that's see, you're naming people that are cake, bro. Jake Paul would give me a fight. Jake Paul would make me work. That's what I want. I want to work.
How about you get
fucking Bryce Hall, nigga? I eat that nigga's ass like an almond joy, bro. Sorry, I'm quoting the Migos. That was a joke. Calm down, everybody. But no, like you're talking about like cakewalks. I want someone who's actually gonna give me a run for my money.
You fight Bryce Hall for 3 Addison Rae TikTok features.
Oh my god. We just need you to promote for our podcast. That's all I want. If I win this match, you post 3 of our highlight videos. That's it.
No, I win this fight. You do the renegade with me.
We do the honor, no money, but bro. I want like just to get in the world. I need those people to come to Atlanta. I mean, they were just in Atlanta. For
literally just in your backyard, but go off.
But like, I need that world to come here so I can just, because I dead ass, I've been talking about it, but I'm going to do it because I talk about things for 6 months until I do it. I'm going to join a boxing like gym just to do it for fun because I want to do it for fun. But like, man, if niggas see the hands that develop and they're like, I want a piece of that nigga.
We gotta make
Gabagool right here.
We gotta find a way to make this podcast relevant just to get you in a boxing ring.
Please, because it's killing me. I think at this point my driving focus is to get us popping enough to people hearing this and they're like, oh yeah, he should fight whoever because this man's talking reckless. You hear what Wellington said on his podcast? Who? Okay, I don't know who this man is, but he's saying some crazy shit. I want to get him the boxing match.
All right, here's what
we're
gonna do. I'm gonna give you like 20 to 30 seconds, and I want you to make your announcement. And we're gonna clip it and ship it, and try and get something trending on Twitter.
Ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary folk out there, I am Wellington Boyce, and I have an announcement to make. Today, on April 22nd, Thursday at 7 p.m., I am venturing the world of boxing. I am willing to take on any opponent. You give me 6 months, and I am throwing hands with anybody you throw at me, or anybody that wants to step up to the fucking plate and prove themselves to me. Somebody with 0 boxing experience. But I'm confident enough that I will mollywop and put your face on that fucking canvas. And this is a promise, my boy. Because I'm not going to fight any women because that's I know people would like to pay for that, but that's not gonna happen. I don't do that. I don't do that thing. But yes, give me a name, shout my name out, and you know what? I'll put it out there for right now. Jake Paul, I want you. I want you. Because you're gonna give me the fight that I want.
This may be my greatest creation yet. Oh my god,
Bro,
the fact that this
I will become a fucking monster. I'm gonna take before and after pictures of my body, and then like once it's like right before the fight in the weigh, and people are like, "Holy whoa!"
just hear from the back of back of
Why
Twitter.
do you take it so serious?
Just hear from the back of Twitter. Sheesh.
Sheesh. You're like, yo, this man took it dead serious. Like, he cut the weight. Well, I want to stay in the weight class of like 185 minimum, but I'm coming for niggas, bro.
Oh man,
not in that sense. That sounds weird, but like I'm coming at niggas. That also sounds.
Title,
weird. But y'all know what I'm saying.
Title of this episode: The Announcement.
I'm becoming a full-time boxer, y'all. I just got to get if there's anybody that wants to train me, that's an actual boxing coach in the Atlanta metropolitan area, come at me, bro, at Wellington Boyce. Email me, wboyce44@gmail.com. I'm all for it. If you want to win,
business inquiries only.
If you want to win, put me in. And Jake Paul, if you want to fight, that will make people be like, oh, hey, this guy clearly wants to fight. You'll want me. Because I'm going to give you a serious fight. I'm not going to do what Nate Robinson did and train for a month. Nigga, I'm going to be day in, day out on my grind. And I'm coming. I'm coming for you.
I think I just became Don King.
Is this what that is? Is this how this feels? Because I like it.
It's not hurting. It's not hurting anything, but it's great for the brand.
No.
It's just great for the brand.
All right, let's move on for this boxing thing before I say some reckless shit.
You already made some reckless shit because that clip is in my possession right now.
Oh man, that's great.
Right.
If anything actually comes up of this, I'm gonna be so stoked.
Yeah.
Life is what is it? Life is showing up Mildred or Millhouse.
Life
is coming up
Life's
Millhouse.
coming up Millhouse.
Yeah, life is coming up Millhouse. That's Mildred.
Life's coming up Mildred. Fuck you talking about? Well, the only thing I really had left to talk about was the other kind of bombshell shit that went down this week, which was the Derek Chauvin trial, which,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's been a lot of tomfoolery that's gone around on social media, but obviously the most poignant thing that I've seen was that this isn't justice, it's accountability, which which is fair. And then fucking Mark Davis, the owner of the fucking Raiders, tweeting out that picture with a Raiders.
I can breathe. Yeah. Oh my god, bro! And I think it's still up.
No, it is still.
It was still up yesterday.
No, that's what's wild about it is that like obviously there was a little stir about it afterwards, but he was like, no, like I got on the Twitter and I made that, and I'm like, you're doing too much. What are you doing?
I wouldn't say that out loud, my guy. But
yeah, it was like, very, very confusing.
But yeah, the whole Derek Chauvin, like actually being found guilty on all charges, it's. A guy at work came up to me and was like, hey, you see that trial? And I was like, oh, yeah. And he's like, it's good. Like, this is a good thing. And I was like, it's good, but it's not, like, the end-all, be-all. Like, this is not going to solve anything.
Well, I mean, even
it's a starting point for me. Like, I was like, it's a starting point. Like, you can hope for things to actually develop into it, or they can just, like how I feel, they're making him an example. Because this stirred up so much controversy, they had to make an example of him.
Well, here's the other thing is that it's not the end all be all because of shit that's literally happened this week. Like a 16-year-old
not
girl
even
got
that.
shot.
It was literally the same day.
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot more work to be done, but a couple things that I wanted to point out that I thought were interesting that didn't get talked about enough. I felt like were just one fact off the rip that didn't get hammered on enough was that at no point during Derek Chauvin being near George Floyd during all of those moments was he not handcuffed. So from the time that Derek Chauvin showed up to the time that George Floyd died, there was not one point where Derek Chauvin was there and George Floyd was not in handcuffs, which is a wild thought considering how that whole situation went. Like,
Wow.
that's not having to restrain somebody. He's been restrained since I've showed up, and I'm doing this thing. I'm committing murder. Like that.
Yeah.
Like that's a wild situation to like run up on. Like there are some people who are like, "Yo, you don't understand." Like, the cops have to protect themselves. What? No. Like there was 0 point in any interaction that this man had with George Floyd where he was not handcuffed. At no point.
And he was a threat.
Yeah. At this point, there was no point where George Floyd was ever a threat to this man, and he just killed him. The other point I want to bring up is that this is the first time in U.S. history a police chief has testified against his own police officer, which hopefully, and this is a big problem with policing, maybe not all police, but with policing in general, is that big frat vibes amongst police departments where we don't tell on each other and we investigate ourselves and we found that we did nothing wrong. The point is, regardless of everything else that surrounds policing, is that it takes people holding others accountable. And like, this is the first time that that's ever happened in a court of law. And that's a really important thing moving forward on solving some of these issues, because the easiest way to get people to start, liking cops more, respecting cops more, is when good cops will call shit out like this and be like, yo, this was
and not feel afraid.
Yeah.
And not feel afraid, because that's the thing. I think there was a situation where a cop spoke against her partner who was using like unnecessary force, and they fired her.
Yeah,
they fired her. I think, but then also I read that this is also since 2005 the first cop that is put in jail out of 15,000 killings by the cop's hands, by a police officer's hands, that a cop is going to jail for it.
Yeah.
Since 2005.
Yeah.
That is remarkably disturbing.
Yeah.
And that is why it's hard to want to care for a lot of things in this country when you as an individual don't see yourselves like being cared for, especially by the civil police or whatever, however you want to call them. Like, and I'm not talking as a black man, I'm talking about just as a human being. Like, where obviously people say, oh, cops are here to help. And in a lot of people's experiences, that's not the case. And if that's the situation where you have a lot of people with the opinions of cops, like where they feel like they have to hold their breaths anytime they're around a cop, that's an issue. Yep. Like, no one should fear a cop. Yep. Like, given that situation with the military lieutenant, like, he's like, I'm afraid to do anything. And the cop's like, yeah, you should be. No, my guy. Yeah. That's like as if a parent respects. It's like, oh, hey, a parent says, I want my kids to respect me, and they do it by brute force. Your kid's not going to respect you. They're going to fear you. Yeah. Like, beating the shit out of your kid is not going to give them respect. Like, you want fear. Mm-hmm. There's a difference. Mm-hmm. You want fear. You don't want respect. So when you put on a badge, know the difference of what you're requesting. Because if you want respect, then go out there and fucking fight against your brother in arms, your other blue brothers that are doing this bullshit against other civilians. Mm-hmm. Like, you can want to fight and say, oh, well, not all cops are bad. You know what, my guy? I could say the same thing about men, whatever. Like, not all cops are bad, But you know what? If you don't speak up and if you kind of brush things under the rug and all that stuff, to me, that's bad.
Yeah.
You're
I mean,
showing a blind eye. That is fucking bad. So therefore, you are associated with every fucking one of them.
I mean, when you exist in an ecosystem that doesn't promote truthfulness or that doesn't promote accountability, and again, like this is a job that they do, so it's not like, it's not as if like they can't leave at any point, and it's not like, this is the only thing that they're ever going to be allowed to do. Like, this is just a paycheck like many other people have. So it's like, if you choose to exist in that ecosystem knowing that you're covering up for people who are doing bad things, it's like, I understand that shit's tough and, you may not be able to get another job, or you may not be able to speak out in a way that won't get you fired. But like, there is a bit of complicity in having to exist in that. Now, that's wrong on their side to create a ecosystem that promotes not telling the truth and not being accountable and not holding others to a higher responsibility that badge provides for those who wear it. But at the same time, like, the change has got to happen from things like this, where a police chief is like, yo, I don't condone anything that went down there. I don't know what he was doing. This is not the way that we educate our people. This is not the way that, we want to act as a police force. Like, that's how shit's going to change a little bit. And that,
or should,
yeah,
you say should, because it's not going to, but it should.
Yeah.
change
So
like that.
I don't know. I mean, I guess, it's like anything else. Like, all men are bad when men cover up for other men for no reason other than, identity. And it's the same, it's the same thing.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
I don't know. I mean, hopefully it gets better. Hopefully this is a step in the right direction. But I mean, it's just tough to tell. I mean, it's tough to really see, what comes next with some of this stuff. And, I think where people get messed up is that a lot of people have ideas about how to fix this and what the solutions are that, people don't disagree with. But I mean, I think fundamentally there's just a problem. And so people are looking for any way to try and solve that problem. And you may not agree with the ways in which they go about it, but fundamentally, like, this cannot continue the same way it's been going. I mean, I just don't see how, as a society, that this is going to be the path forward of just having this, so many stories of this, like, paramilitary organization.
Constantly.
Yeah. I mean, it's constant, and whether your solution is this, that, or the other thing, like, there's a problem that needs solving. So,
and it's just like a matter of whether they want to or not, because it's deeper than just like being put on trial because you got caught. That's pretty much at the end of the day.
If that footage doesn't exist,
nothing. Yeah, nothing. He got caught. You would know who George Floyd is, but you would know that nothing happened of that situation. It's just like, I don't know. Like, there's so much I could say about it, but I just hope, like, because when I was talking to this guy at work, he's like, yeah, man, it's a step in the right direction. I'm like, it's a step.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a step of an uphill battle.
Yeah. Nothing was won.
And
there.
so there's, nothing was won. And then you got fucking Nancy Pelosi like, oh yeah, so saying some dumb shit.
Sacrificed his life for the cause. It's like,
for the cause.
He didn't pick that.
You tone deaf bitch.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? Sacrifice.
Yeah.
He's not a martyr. First of all,
like Dave Chappelle said, like, you made him a martyr. He didn't want that. He wanted to live.
He wanted to be with his daughter. He wanted to live every day like we are. He wanted to see fucking 2021. Like, no, like that's, what are you talking about? And to view it such as that, you're not helping anybody.
No,
you're not in our court or like on our side or whatever. Your views are completely far left field.
Yeah.
No one's thinking that, like, oh yes, he sacrificed his life. Fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Like
Pelosi.
and to put this in context of like something larger, like you have the George Floyd situation where this dude gets murdered, and then a cause gets
by someone that he knew prior to
Yeah.
the situation.
and there's a whole situation that comes out of that, and people use, for good or for bad, people use that situation to move whatever needle they're trying to move. The point is that he did not want to be involved in any of that. He wanted to live. And you put that against somebody like Alexander Navalny, who is a big political figure in Russia, who is very opposed to Putin, gets poisoned in Germany while he's on parole and can't make the parole hearing. So then they bring him back or he goes back to Russia, and they're like, yo, you violated the law. You missed your parole hearing. And he's like, I was fucking poisoned by the government. Of course I missed my parole hearing, but I came back because I want to institute change, and I can't change Russia not being in Russia. So put me in fucking prison, unless let me create a cause around myself. He chose.
Yeah.
If he dies, he sacrificed himself for his cause, which is fine. Which is completely fine. But the point is, George Floyd did not come out that day, trying to stir shit up so that he hoped he got killed, and so that things could be different than they were the day before. That's not how that works. Those are two very different things.
Any person that has died in the hands of police brutality isn't a martyr. That's what y'all got the shit fucked up. The narrative is not that these people aren't we can't let them die in vain. Well, the thing is, they were murdered.
They'd rather live in obscurity.
They
I
would
promise you
rather.
that.
Yeah, as a human being, if tomorrow a cop pulls me over and he gets aggressive with me and kills me, I can guarantee you right now, y'all, if that was to save racism as a stepping stone in racism to be cured or whatever, I don't want to be that person. I don't care if that's what it took, because I want to live my life. I am a human being, and I don't want to be.
And it shouldn't take your life to change it. It can take words, and it can take protests, and it can take a whole bunch of other things. It shouldn't cost a life to get things to be the way that they need to be.
If it's not my choosing, I don't want it.
Yeah.
That's the difference. If I did whatever, said same situation, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna die for the cause, different.
Yeah.
Different. But I don't want it. Fucking whoever, Tom down the street, he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. These most normal people aren't gonna want that.
For sure.
And don't put them into as this figure of they died for the cause. No one wants to die for the cause unless they openly say, I'm gonna die for the cause, my guy. People are just being murdered.
Yeah.
And we need to humanize them a little more and realize that it's it's not for a better cause. It's just we just want justice, and to be seen as humans. So y'all putting these people as these prophetic figures, you're not humanizing them.
Yeah.
In a sense. So it's ironic. You're doing the polar opposite of what you want, of your goal. It's just you're not humanizing this person. So
yeah.
I don't know.
All right, well, we're at $1.03.
That's good.
So
that's good.
On that note, y'all stay positive. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe. Go get vaxxed and waxed if you're feeling frisky.
Yep.
But go ahead. Tell them where they can find you.
Y'all can find me at Welly Boyce on Twitter, Wellington Boyce on Instagram, and at Wellington Boyce on TikTok. You can also find me in the nearest boxing gym in your area, because I'm fucking ready, baby.
All right, you can find me at Quinn Tweets on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And check out Safe Space for Depravity.com. Check out Safe Space for Depravity Pod on TikTok as well. And we will catch you all next week.
All right, bye.
Bye.